Good evening. Welcome to the Southbridge Public School, Southbridge School Committee meeting here in the McKinnon Hall on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Relative to Mass General Law 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded by both video and audio methods. Call to order. Roll call.
Carla De La Cruz Davila.
Present.
Kathy LaPriori.
Present.
Andrew Murch.
Present.
Aaron DeMello. Present. Martina Shea.
Present.
John Shaw.
Present.
Steve Kabinski.
Present.
We have a quorum. We'll pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Subcommittee report, budget.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, our budget subcommittee meeting was scheduled for April 2nd. Unfortunately, we did have some technical difficulties with the presentation, so we were unable to conduct the meeting. I will have that scheduled by the end of this month, and I'll have something to report on the next.
Okay, do you have a date scheduled yet?
The date that I'm looking at, I haven't discussed with the members. I was going to debrief with them after this meeting, would be next Tuesday.
Okay.
That's my projected date. That meeting will just be watching the 2021 meeting of the Southbridge School Committee when Tracy Novick from MASC came down to give the Southbridge School Committee at the time the 70 on Chapter 70, which is the training that they use at the MSC Joint Conference to fulfill the training requirements on Chapter 70 budget funding, and it was also tailored to Southbridge with that budget, so it's going to be it's just going to be an informational and training session, essentially.
Thank you. I look forward to that meeting. I know I was there for the training, but you forget it's been quite a while. Is that before COVID?
No, that was right after COVID.
Okay. The March 12th minutes. Does anybody have any issues with it? Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Citizens Forum. Does anyone in the audience wish to address the school committee this evening?
Good evening.
Counselor?
Mike Marchetti, 120 Marie Avenue. Also a counselor. I was wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit closer to the mic because we're having a hard time hearing you. Maybe Cable could kick up the mics just a little bit. And also, if you hadn't already planned, I was hoping you could give us an update. Have you met with the Board of Education, the head of the Board of Education? What's going on with that? What's going on with training? I don't know if you'd already planned on doing that, but I wouldn't mind hearing an update. All right? Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else wish to speak to the board? Hearing none. Chairperson's announcement. Councilor Marchetti kind of jumped my agenda. First thing, remember our cheerleaders. We have a couple of things in relationship to the state. As we've spoken before, we have a new acting commissioner of education. His name is Russell Johnston. He is is reaching out to us in several different ways. Aaron and I had a quick talk with him. He just wanted to be sure that we were still on board for the training, still on board to work together to get us off receivership, and we set up a date at the end of April. I think it's April 29th.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Murch, Ms. DeMello, and I will be meeting with him. It's going to be an in-person meeting. 3 members from the town council, the town manager, Jack Jovan, Scott Lazo, and Jasmine Rivas will also be there. I assume Dr. Villar will be there, and this will be the first meeting. It's scheduled for an hour. We're going to definitely talk about training the school committee. We're going to talk about moving forward with the end of receivership, exactly what steps. We had talked with Dr. Villar, Aaron and I, and he said, hopefully we will finally start to say that we are out of receivership if we do A, B, and C. There has been no steps. No one who was under receivership, no school district under receivership had any idea what the benchmarks were for getting out of receivership. We're hoping that the new acting commissioner will give us those steps so we'll know how we're doing on the list. Our talk with Dr. Villar said he's very hopeful that everything seems to be pulling together in the school district, and he's very hopeful that we'll start to meet those benchmarks. Another thing, the state is coming to evaluate our special ed department. It's called a tiered focused monitoring. There's going to be a parent, like a Zoom meeting. It's going to be on April the 23rd. It's not Zoom, it's one of those, meetgoogle.com. The information is on the school webpage. I would suggest that any of you who are parents of students in special ed or have children that you think need additional services, or even students outside of the district who you might like to bring back to the district. These people are coming the week of May 6th to do the actual monitoring. They'll talk to the teachers, they'll monitor the classrooms, they'll look at the paperwork to be sure that we're doing what we should do. So this is something, but there will be, as I said, a parent information call on April 23rd at 6 p.m. at meetgoogle.com, and then a whole bunch of letters, which I won't bore you with. Look on the school's website. It really is right on the front page. Just scroll down a little bit. I often say things are going to be on the website, and they're not easy to find. This one's very easy to find. So as I said, if you have children, or even if you're just interested in the school system, please be there. And in the other documents, there are other people you can contact at the board if you would rather do it that way. So just stay on top of this one. This is our 3-year reeval. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right. Our last meeting, Mr. Murch wanted to read and discuss the school committee's rules.
Yes. So just so the public is aware as well, there is an electronic document on the school's website under the school committee, under the Southbridge Public Schools page, under leadership in school committees. what I have been trying to do is trying to take the reins. Our rules are all laid out there in, in section B, which is our policies, that includes our powers and authorities, all the way down to the school site committees, the CPACs, everything like that. Unfortunately, each document and each page is pretty much its own independent document, which has made it difficult for us to try to be able to gather everything together into one packet, and that's been my dilemma. Is there's 45 independent Adobe PDF files that lay out all of our rules, and not just the rules of the school committee, but the school policies as well. And I, unfortunately, without a computer, I'm having a difficult time. I had said last meeting, I'll try to do what I can. I don't have a computer right now. So I don't have the printout packets that I so vehemently had proposed for or discussed last time. I would like to discuss these rules. I do think that we all need to have a copy of the rules, but I don't have, right now, to be frank, I don't have the technology to be able to get a packet of these rules together to review and discuss. And I had made mention that I would do the best that I can. I can't remember who I spoke with, but somebody said that they were going to try to get with Don Miko to get us some, see if we could get them printed out. I was yet to hear back from her on that. So unfortunately, I don't have the printout rules because I don't have the technology, and I really could use some help here because I can't. I just can't. I'm going to be honest.
Erin had called me this afternoon and said she had worked up several of the rules and laid them out. I know last week I had given you the first, our authority. Okay.
Yeah, so I just printed out the first couple pages from that document, figuring that's probably all we would have time to go through today anyway. If you want to go ahead and look at the one that's here, it says file BBAA at the top, page 1 of 2. So the two that I printed out, which again are basically the first two that relate to governance of the school committee, are school committee member authority and school committee powers and duties. So is it okay if I just read through it?
I don't know if reading through it is really what we want to do. I mean, could we take it like kind of section by section?
Sure.
And like start with authority and we'll look at
And then
that
stop.
piece of it?
Yeah. Sure. So if you have that, and we're taking a look at where it says authority, because all powers of the school committee derived from state law are granted in terms of action as a group, members of the school committee have authority only when acting as a committee legally in session. The school committee will not be bound in any way by any statement or action on the part of an individual member, except when such statement or action is a result of specific instructions of the committee. No member of the committee, by virtue of his or her office, will exercise any administrative responsibility with respect to the schools or command the services of any school employee. The school committee will function as a body, and all policy decisions and other matters will be settled by an official vote of the committee sitting in formal session.
Any comments on that? I think it's pretty clear that we can't go off and run the schools by ourselves, that we are a committee and that we have to work together. And I look forward very much to that. Okay, duties?
All right. The duties and obligations of the individual committee member may be enumerated as follows. Number 1, to become familiar with the general laws of the Commonwealth relating to education and school committee operations, regulations of the Massachusetts Board of Education, policies and procedures of this school committee and school department, which is one of the reasons why we're reading through all of this, is that we're supposed to be familiar with the policies and procedures of our school committee and department. Number 2, to complete within 30 days of election or appointment the online Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conflict of Interest Law training program, and to provide copies of the completion certificate to both the town clerk and school committee chair. This certification must be completed every 2 years. Number 3, to keep abreast of new laws and the latest trends in education. Number 4, to have a general knowledge of the goals, objectives, and programs of the town's public schools. Number 5, to work effectively with other committee members without trying to either dominate the committee or neglect his or her share of the work. Number 6, to respect the privileged communication that exists in executive sessions by maintaining strict confidentiality on members discussed in these sessions, except that which becomes part of the public record once it has been approved for release.
Number 7? This is the same.
Sorry, I didn't realize. Going on to page 2. Number 7, to vote and act in committee for the good of the students. Number 8, to accept the will of the majority vote in all cases and to remember that he or she is one of a team and must abide by and carry out all committee decisions once made. Number 9, to represent the committee and the schools to the public in a way that promotes interest and support. Number 10, to refer questions and complaints to the proper school authorities and the superintendent. Number 11, to comply with the accepted code of ethics for school committee members.
Just by way of information, to complete within 30 days the election of your election or appointment, the line outlined in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Conflict of Interest Law Training Program. Our town clerk is excellent at making sure that we keep up on this, and when our 2 years is up, we're immediately notified and given the proper, it's all on computer now, so that is, we have to thank our town clerk for doing yeoman's work on this one. Any other comments? I'd like to look at number 4, if we could, to have a general knowledge of the goals, objectives, and programs of the town's public schools. We're always talking about goals. That is one of the functions of the school committee that we have been remiss. I would strongly suggest to the members of the board who are not up for re-election that you keep in mind that in the first or second meeting of the new term that we establish good, solid goals for the district. Yes.
And another comment, I know last year we actually got to go into a number of the schools. I forget, we went into almost all of them at different points throughout the year. And that was really helpful for getting familiar with some of the programs that our school offers, as far as even the after-school program, but also getting familiar with just some of the goals of the different, what am I trying to say? Different principals and things like that, getting to meet them. And so if you haven't yet had a chance to meet all the principals, I would say it would be really helpful to even go online and look up some of our school committee meetings from last year. I believe in December, not of 2023, but of 2022, our school committee meeting was at the middle school. I believe our February and March meetings were also in the schools. Do you remember which months?
I could
Okay.
not put a date on it, but
Yeah.
I do know that we went to West Street, Eastford Road, Charlton Street, the middle school. And did we go this year to the high? We went more recently to the high school. Did we go to the high school?
We did not officially go
We
to
did not
the
officially
high
go to
school.
the high school, went to the middle school. Lots of fun going to Eastford Road with the little people.
So maybe we could even send a link of that to some of the members that
Oh,
weren't
okay.
here last year.
I
Or
can
maybe
do
we
that.
already did. I can't even
No,
remember for sure.
it's the kind of thing that I know I lose links very quickly.
Okay. Anything else?
Anything else?
Informational purposes is only, I think, line number 3, the second half of that, and the latest trends in education. That seems like it should more properly say something to the effect of potential improvements. Who cares what the latest trend is, right? I'm not concerned with the latest trend. I'm concerned if it's an improvement over what we're doing. So I would change that, but that's my only comment.
When we get a curriculum subcommittee,
Yeah.
at that committee, that's when
Policy.
the town, the curriculum coordinators, the principals should be letting us know what the, you're right, what the, of the trends, which is the one we go with, and of the trends, which are the ones that, you know,
I approve upon, yeah.
yeah, that my fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Sweet, wouldn't have put up with. Yes.
So to Mr. Kaminsky's point, next year, or after the election, when the school committee reconvenes and reorganizes, we have the power to change the rules in the way that they're written. And that, I would say, part of the reason why I wanted us to review the rules was literally for that exact reason.
Okay.
Is to take a look at the wording and what we have and what we can, as a body, collectively, like, I'm kind of in agreement with you. The latest trends is kind of just like vague and not really precise. So maybe either changing the language or expanding the language of the rule might be the route to go to make sure that newer members, as they come onto the board, are born better informed and have better guidance, other than keep up with the trends. Because I can barely keep up with trends now, and I have a teenager, so I did. That was that was just my main point. Is we have the ability to change it, and I hope that after the reorg that we can have a rules subcommittee and then just review them and update them. And from the last time this was changed was 2014, so a decade is a little while to not go without a review and update, so thank you.
Which is the problem with our whole policy book. Yes?
Just a little, maybe additional note to that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees can also help make some recommendations for us on that. And I know that Tracy Novak has commented that even in our process of setting up subcommittees, that it left a lot of ambiguity to that, and that they could kind of help us with some clarification on some of that. So they may have some good suggestions that we could consider next year as well. So.
Speaking again to the trends, we have two things. We have trends, which are things that are sort of going by. When you think of like a trend right now, it's, thank you, I'm in trouble. When trends, one of the trends now that you read about are throwing books out of libraries. That would be considered a trend as opposed to a, whether we should have phonics or whole language approach to reading. That would be more of a curriculum issue. So I think we kind of need both. We need to be aware of what the buzzwords in the world are and the curriculum for our schools. Anything else in this section? Kathy? No. Carla? Aaron? Karen? Andrew? Carla?
In relation to number 4, the general knowledge of the goals, objectives, and programs of the town's public schools, I think that's kind of separate from what we would particularly set, like in our situation right now. We kind of have to set goals for ourselves, as you guys did and reviewed I think it was the last meeting. But I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've really, other than the turnaround plan, I don't really know of an annual goal or objective of the town's public school system, like on an annual basis. We just get our update every 3 years. So I just think that maybe hopefully in the future we can have Dr. Villar I would like to see him come in and review with us what the district goals are and what he's set for the district. Based on that rule, I think, we have to have a general knowledge of the goals, and I think it's safe to say that outside of the turnaround plan, if there is any other goal set by the receiver, we don't really know. So
I believe he did set out a goal at the beginning of the year meeting in September. He came and did a presentation on the end of school and the beginning of school, and I think he usually does give a goal. It may not be super specific, and I would agree that it would be nice to see something a little bit maybe more detailed or whatever. So, yeah.
Okay. File BBA. These file numbers are from our policy book. School Committee powers and duties.
The school committee has all the powers conferred upon it by state law and must perform those duties mandated by the state. These include the responsibility and right to determine policies and practices and to employ staff to implement its directions for the proper education of the children of the community. The committee's functions are, number 1, legislative or policy making. The committee is responsible for the development of policy as guides for administrative action and for employing a superintendent who will implement its policies. Number 2, appraisal. The committee is responsible for evaluating the effectiveness of its policies and their implementation. Number 3, provision of financial resources. The committee is responsible for adoption of a budget that will enable the school system to carry out the committee's policies. Number 4, public relations. The committee is responsible for providing adequate and direct means for keeping the local citizenry informed about the schools and for keeping itself and the school staff informed about the needs and wishes of the public. Number 5, educational planning and evaluation. The committee is responsible for establishing educational goals and policies that will guide the committee and staff for the administration and continuing improvement of the educational programs.
Any comments?
Just that. I'm sorry, can I say something, Martine?
Again, so much of it comes back to our policy book that we really must take a look at. This was adopted in October of '7. That is unbelievable. Yes.
As a whole, this was kind of part. I pushed for the rules for 2 meetings because this hasn't been presented to a school committee at least in the 5 years that I've been on the board. And when we sit here and say we don't have guidance and we don't really know what we're doing, I mean, we are right. We don't have the deep world knowledge of how a school committee functions, but even just the basic ideas of the basic functions of how we are at a super basic level, just being laid out here I think this can give us as individual members, just these 5 things, honestly, things to start open. I think each of these 5 items can give us an opportunity to open the doorway for discussion with Dr. Villar and the state, as a whole or as individual members, really trying to learn from whoever as far as in regards to how this is affected by our current situation, and where we stand in any of these particular items. This is one of the main reasons why I wanted to review these, because I think as a board we can take all of these and reach out to Dr. Villar and go, hey, I understand we haven't updated our policy book or made policy changes as a board. What policy changes have been made since you got here? As far as the detail, I'd like to meet with that. We do want to promote teamwork with the state, given the situation, regardless of our opinion of whether or not we want to be under receivership or not. We're here, this is the way it is, we just need to work with it. But I would just encourage other members to kind of continue to review and also try to take a look in conjunction. We all got these books at the beginning of the year. This is Mass General Laws, completely relative to education, even from the state's constitution itself down to, it actually has a detailed table in here of the Student Opportunity Act updates and how that's done and everything in between. I know it seems like it's intimidating, but there's a lot of very useful information and knowledge about how a school committee is supposed to function in here as well, generally speaking, and then coinciding it with our rules. Because this is for every school district in the state, the laws that we have to follow. But it's like anything at the site level, you have to change based on the site. Every site has its own personality, and every district has its own hundreds or thousands of different personalities in our students. So the school committee has to kind of tailor its rules and everything to that. So I would just encourage you to also do that and reach out to Dr. Villar with this. Thank you.
For those of you out there in TV land, don't panic. You do have this information. All of the laws of the state of Massachusetts are on their website. And if you just want to Google, like the Student Reform Act, just Google it. They will give you all of the sites to go to, and it's very easy. It's just click on it, and so it is available to everyone. Yes.
Just regarding this page again, page 3 here, number 4, public relations. The other 4 of these 5 things we either can't do or we can only do in a really limited way right now, like making policy or appraising the effectiveness of our policies, provision of financial resources, educational planning and evaluation. We can't do a lot of any of those things right now. But public relations is the one thing that we absolutely can do right now. And so just a thought that it is something that we're still able to listen to the people in our community and still able to hear their needs and the concerns that they have and relay those to Dr. Villar and the administration at the school. And we're also able to be as aware as possible of the things that are going on at the school and communicate those to our friends and neighbors and the people that we meet at the grocery store and things like that. I think that's one of the things, the biggest things that the chair and I have worked on this year is trying to make sure that the school is aware of concerns that our community has. And I know some of you have emailed either Martina or myself with concerns, and that helps us a lot. And I know we're getting towards the end of the year. There are only a couple months left, but there still may be things that come up. And if there are, please don't hesitate to email us, because we still will probably meet with Dr. Villar a couple more times. We still can share those things with him. And it's hard to know. We don't have authority. We're not Dr. Villar's boss. We're not in charge. But just communicating some of those things sometimes gives him at least a more informed perspective as he's making his decisions. So it does seem like that is helpful. So just a thought.
Andrew?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. So I'm going to be honest, with all due respect, I understand that right now we're essentially a PR committee. We're just up here for pomp and circumstance. But that doesn't mean that we need to act like that. We can still ask these questions and ask like, hey, what policy, since our book is so outdated since we've been involved, what policy changes have been made that have benefited Southbridge Public Schools since the beginning of receivership? Where were they at and where are they now? When we're talking about, as far as an appraisal, what metric are you using? What metric is, we can ask Dr. Villar what metrics he's using to see that these policies are effective. As far as the education planning and evaluation, we have a director of elementary education and a director of secondary education. We can ask them, how we can still inquire and ask and learn. We're the board that's responsible for the learning of our students, essentially. But, education is ever changing constantly. I went to school, I graduated in 2008, and my son is a freshman in the high school. Yeah, we're not realistically that far off in age. But school now, comparative to school 15 years ago, is immensely different. I've toured the high school. I've seen the environment that they learn in, and on a general level. This was pre-COVID, and the classroom environment's completely different than when I was in school. And I know I went to school somewhere else. I didn't go to school in Southbridge, but just the general dynamic is a big change. So these are things that we can still ask about and learn, and that's what I'm trying to say. I honestly, I don't take kindly anymore to us speaking down of ourselves, like we're only here for this or we're only here for that. It's kind of obvious in our meetings when we have 15-minute meetings and we're out. There's not any other board in this town that meets for that long, realistically. But that doesn't mean that we as members or as a board need to treat it like that. We can still ask, we can still try to bring the state in here and like, hey, all of us, we're asking questions about what policy changes have been made and how it affects it. Dr. Villar, do you think you can put this together? I don't think that's too hard of an ask. I'm not on Dr. Villar's side, so I can't say one way or the other, but this is what we can do is ask. We teach students, to, when you want to think critically, always ask why. Always ask why or always ask how. And we need to ask both. And I don't think it's unfair to ask something like that and learn more. And we need to stop talking about limiting ourselves. I get it, we don't have the power, but we're just kind of stomping our own, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by just sitting here going, well, there's nothing we can do, we're only here for PR. That's really not the case. We all signed up to try to actually make effective change and learn as best as we can. And I think we can just grab that and not put ourselves down, put that to the wayside. So that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm sorry, Mr. Murch, I didn't mean to come across as that we couldn't ask those questions, and actually we do ask those questions all the time to Dr. Villar, and he actually does have a policy book that he has made a lot of updates to what we have here, and we do discuss things like that with him regularly. So I think my main point with that was that we cannot make the policy. For sure, we can ask the questions, and I think that's definitely a good point.
All right, thank you. On number 9, have we done? Okay. Number 9, continue plans for a letter to the Department of Ed concerning receivership. I put this on the agenda because we talked about it last time, but I think right now we should hold writing a letter. We should be continuing to think about it until the town council and the school committee meet with the acting commissioner to see where he's going, what his plans are, and what he suggests we need to do to be properly positioned to move forward and getting ourselves off of receivership. It will be a step-by-step process, but we would like to be going in the right steps. So I'm going to ask that we table this item. Do I hear a motion to table? And by table, I mean probably wait until the next committee comes on board. Make a motion to table this item. Second. I have a motion. It's all in favor?
Can we open the floor for discussion, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Thank you. I don't necessarily think that we need to table the discussion regarding this. The chair was nice enough to provide us the letter from Holyoke, and as I review this letter, through some of the programs that they instituted are very similar to what we have here. I don't disagree with writing the letter itself. I do agree. We should wait. But discussion of it and where we need to be at in the research, I don't think necessarily does need to wait. You plan for the worst and hope for the best. Sometimes, for me personally, just an anecdote here, sometimes I get a car in and I got to call and order parts. And I might hear the parts will be here at 3 o'clock, but I've got another vendor that's a little bit of a ways away, and I can probably drive and pick that up. Do I weigh out my options? I weigh out my options. Yeah, I order that part, but if that part's wrong, I'm stuck. I'll go and pick up the part to try to just to make sure we have it. And sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not right. But I still have that other part coming at 3 that I know 100% is correct. So, yeah, I put a shot out there to see if I could get it sooner. If it was the right part, we can get the customer back in their car. And that's the kind of thought process I'm thinking with this. No, at the end of the day, we've got the next board should work to write this letter petitioning, because the school committee is the only board, according to MGL, the school committee is the only body in town government that can petition to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to end receivership. So nobody else can ask to get out of this but us.
That's correct.
And the only way we can try to get out of it is we have to either wait for DESI to say, you're all set, or we petition and they make a decision therein. So I think the discussion needs to continue to be had on what we're going to put into this. And honestly, I would say, I hope all these members all of us have read through this in detail, because some of the, if we can get some of these numbers and they're pretty consistent, if they're consistent with Holyoke's progress over their time period, and we can weigh that out, there may be a case to be made, but that requires us to do a little bit of digging and more discussion, so I'd like to keep that open.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'll be voting no to table the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed?
I'm sorry, in favor of tabling?
Of tabling this, just tabling it.
Okay.
Not to be picked up until the next committee comes up, which is only, 2 months. And but I understand Mr. Murch's that we probably are better to keep it on the, just to keep it on the agenda, keep our eyes on it. I know that if you looked at the budget presentation, as Carla and I did, he presented a lot of factual information. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. A lot of factual information as to how well the school is doing. We have all of the pretty much quarterly reports for the last, pretty much since we've been on receivership, how our different tests have shown up, how attendance, he ranked the attendance, which of course is always a chronic problem. There were a lot of pieces of solid information that we can very easily translate into this document. So, the motion does not pass.
We didn't formally, properly vote. Can I get a roll call? Can we get a roll call vote?
Would like a roll call vote. Carla?
So
Kathy?
this is to table it.
Yes, the motion is to table. Andrew has suggested that we do not
Right.
table.
So the vote is to not table. I'm
So if
confused.
you-
Just
if
saying,
vote
just saying,
yes, it's to
if you
table.
want to
You vote
table, you say yes. If you don't, no, these things are complicated. If you want to table, you say yes. If you don't want to table, you say no.
Okay. Okay, no.
No.
All right.
No.
Aaron?
I'm just going to abstain.
I can kind of understand that. Steve?
Nope.
John?
Yes.
We have one yes, one abstention, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 noes. Okay. So it will be on the next agenda. I would like to ask people to at least look at the budget presentation that Carla and I went to and see what solid information we have that would be the most current information. And we'll look at that and we'll see, and then we'll work back from there to see where we started. Any other comments?
I'd like to ask Andrew, what's the presentation? When is the presentation for the budget?
The budget presentation, when you go on the town, it would be the last, it would be between the last school committee and today. I'm sure that, do you have the date, Carla?
March 21st.
March 21st?
I think so.
That sounds good.
Sorry.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
Oh, the one that I was going to do for the, but,
Tuesday.
okay.
March
so that-
21st.
So you're talking about the training with the MASC? Is that what you're asking?
I guess that's what it is.
Next Tuesday.
So I would plan on doing that next Tuesday, probably at 6:30, and I'll, room to be determined, but I'll get that out and get it posted on the town's website, and I can email that to you as well.
Is that what you're asking about, John? Or are you asking about the meeting with the,
That
With the
Dr. Villar
commissioner-
presented.
I was asking the meeting which
Oh,
that we're waiting for?
Andrew couldn't get out
yeah.
Oh,
last time.
So he's going to try for next Tuesday. For the rest of you, again, that will be on the cable news. It's very, very informative. She really goes through the whole budget process and how much Southbridge gets in state aid. How much Southbridge gets in state aid. And I was quite surprised, the percentage of between the state funds and the federal grants, how much money we actually get from sources other than our local taxes. Anything else? Anybody have anything they would like to add tonight?
Yes. Nothing to do with any of this, but I'd like to wish John Shaw a happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah, 20, right? 20th?
Oh, 21, he's old
Oh,
and.
21, okay. That's a big one. You should go out and celebrate.
Any other comments? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Carla? Thank you very much. We adjourn